Hey Dragon Slayers, today's video is going to take a look at the advantages of fasting and explore why diets fail. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. Let's get started. Fasting's most obvious benefit is weight loss. However, there are myriad of benefits beyond this, many of which were widely known before the modern era. It was once common for people to fast for a certain period of time for health benefits. These fasting periods were often called cleanses, detoxifications, or purifications. And people believed that they would clear their bodies of toxins and rejuvenate themselves. They were more correct than they could have possibly known. Fasting improves mental clarity and concentration. It induces weight and body fat loss. It lowers blood sugar levels. It improves insulin sensitivity. It increases energy. It improves fat burning. It lowers blood cholesterol. It prevents Alzheimer's disease. It extends life. It reverses the aging process. And it decreases inflammation. We'll talk more about these health benefits in a later video in more detail. But why is fasting better than other diets? Well, look at the advantages to fasting in the next few series of videos. The main problem of the diets that have the health benefits listed above is that they're often very difficult to follow. As Dr. Fung discovered when working with his patients with obesity and type 2 diabetes. Obesity and type 2 diabetes are both problems of excess insulin. Since refined carbohydrates are a prime contributor to high insulin levels, the natural place to start with his patients was low carbohydrate diets. Protein, especially animal proteins, dairy, and meat, can also stimulate insulin production, and excessive intake of these foods can slow down progress. And processed foods also play a key role in disease. So the best diet would emphasize whole, unprocessed foods. It would be low in refined carbohydrates and high in natural fats with a moderate amount of protein. Multiple peer-reviewed studies have shown that this kind of diet has excellent results for type 2 diabetes, and best of all, it's very safe. So that's what Dr. Fung started with in working with his patients at the Intensive Dietary Management Program. He'd counsel them on reducing sugars and refined carbohydrates and replacing them with natural, unprocessed foods. He gave lectures, he followed up, he begged and cajoled. He reviewed page after page of food diaries, and it just didn't work. The diet could be successful, but only if it was properly followed. And that was simply too complicated for many of his patients. They would return food diaries filled with noodles and bread and still claim they were following a low carbohydrate diet. Pitas, naan, and other flatbreads somehow were not considered bread. They simply did not understand what was being asked of them. These were not, after all, people obsessed with nutrition who spent every spare minute reading medical journals. They had full-time jobs and families to take care of. and trying to break their dietary habits in the last 50 years proved of the last 50 years proved to be very challenging. Also, because the diet is almost the opposite of conventional dietary advice, it was often hard for people to accept that it was actually good for them. But Dr. Fung didn't give up. Their health, and indeed their very lives, were dependent upon the proper treatment. Type 2 diabetes is a terrible disease. It is by far the leading cause of blindness, amputation, kidney failure, and adrenal failure in North America. Diabetes is also a leading contributor to heart attacks, stroke, and other cardiovascular diseases. Type 2 diabetes is a dietary disease, and it requires a dietary solution. Most importantly, it's a curable disease. What Dr. Fong needed was a new strategy. The overall goal was not necessarily to reduce carbohydrate intake. The goal was to reduce insulin levels. And cutting carbohydrates was only one method of achieving that goal. Yet all foods of varying degrees stimulate the release of insulin, so the most effective method of lowering insulin would be to eat nothing at all. In other words, to fast. Dr. Fung didn't need to reinvent the wheel. People are always drawn to the latest and greatest diet trend and the next superfood, like quinoa, acai berries, or kale chips. But what are the chances that after thousands of years of human history, we will find the next big thing now? The thing that we can't live without, despite having lived without it for thousands of years. Fasting is the oldest dietary intervention in the world. It is profoundly different from all other dietary strategies. It is not the latest and greatest, but the tried and true. It's not something to do, but something to not do. Because it differs from conventional dieting in many important ways, fasting carries many distinct advantages. So, that's what I've got for you guys today. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it really helps the channel out. And remember, guys, that together, you and I will slay the dreaded diabetes dragon.